Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2021 show. I'm your host, Don Kay. We are once again coming to you from the Grand King Race Shops at 8155 Crawfordsville Road in Indianapolis. Today's show is presented by Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the NTT IndyCar Series, SVRA, McGilvery's Pub and Eatery and Speedway, and VP Insurance. A couple of things. If you've got a fan of IndyCar and you're looking for something to give them as a little present for May or afterwards, birthday or whatever, I highly recommend the 500shop.com. If he hasn't got it, it ain't in existence. Michael Spangle has about anything you can possibly think of. So if you're looking for something for a souvenir or present for somebody that's an IndyCar fan, the Indy500shop.com will have it. My computer guy has a new office. He is located now on, it's called Fleming Street at 549 Fleming Street in Indianapolis, just off West Washington. That's a affordable computer doctor. Steve Freeze is a computer. If you need anything done, give him a call. He can help you. And if need be, he can make a house call. His number is 317-328-0766. And of course, everybody's favorite doctor's visit is a dentist. Well, I got a secret for you. It's not a secret, actually. The Indy Dental Group is the best around. Dr. Jack Miller, Indy 500 veteran, and his wife, Dr. Liz Lewis, have spectacular practice. Call him for your next dentist appointment and have him check you out, and I guarantee you will love it. His people are top of the line. His number is 317-846-6125. And hi, I'm Paul Page. It's race day in Indianapolis is now out, and get yourself a copy. You can order it on Amazon or you can get it ordered on Barnes & Noble, and it may be available at the Speedway and the museum gift shops. But get yourself a copy, and when you're wandering around the Speedway in May, you might see Paul and have him autograph it for you. Also, the book by the SVRA Vice President Public Relations, the book, The Legend of the First Super Speedway, The Battle for the Soul of American Racing is out. It is fabulous. I'm just wrapping it up finally, and you can get it most anywhere. So if you get a chance, get a copy. It's really, really a good read. It starts before the Speedway was built, and how it built up and how it came about. It's very interesting. And if it's time for you to get renew your insurance for your home, your car, or your commercial property, do what the Commissioner of Insurance of Indiana says, check your prices around. And I think you'll find that the VP Insurance and Mike Pardee can help you out. You get better coverage for less money. All of us have figured that out and have gotten to it. So do yourself a favor. They're located at 5004 West 16th Street. You can call Mike at 317-248-0070. And if you've ever wondered what these guys and gals love about driving Indy cars, well, find out for yourself. Take a ride in the Indy Racing Experience 2-seater. And in the promo box, you can put DK1 and get a 50% discount. So you can go to online, IndyRacingExperience.com, find a place that they're going to run you can get to, and book yourself a ride, or call Shonda at 317-243-7171. You know, Trans Am was big at one time. It's kind of died out, but Tony Perella has it now, and he's building it up big each week. So I suggest you go to svra.com, find out what their schedule is, hit the schedule tab, and while you're there, subscribe to Speed Tour magazine. It's a great magazine. It talks about the vintage racing that they have, as well as the Trans Am, and you find out really good stuff in the book. It's a first-class publication. You'll love it. And if you're interested in a vintage car, you have one that needs restoration, the Grand King Shop could help you. Give them a call at 317-820-3595. Tell them what you got or what you need, and they can help you out. My guest today is a young man who's been kind of absent for the last couple of years, but he's back. He hasn't given up. He is doing what the Wilson family does. They fight and they scrap and they make it happen. He's here this year to win the 500, and I'm happy that he has the time to talk to us. Please welcome Stefan Wilson. Stefan, thanks for the time, and I know you're full out trying to get ready for the 500.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Don.
What have you been doing in the interim? Have you been racing anywhere? I know you've moved a couple of years ago, moved out to Colorado to be with your brother's family. But what have you been doing racing-wise?
I've been just laying on the couch, honestly, for the last 3 years, just waiting for my time.
I don't buy that one.
It's after 2018, leading laps at Indy, I left that month and was so determined to make it back to Indy and run laps at the Speedway again. And that the rest of that year worked really hard with the partners we had and worked to try and make that happen. And I think in January 2019, it looked like it was going to work out. It was going to work. And unfortunately, some things happened. A sponsor pulled out, and that kind of left me high and dry. So, at that point, it was, I still, was sort of chasing. I knew that, okay, it's probably not going to happen this May, but just got to try and pick myself up and find another opportunity and continue to work on that. And in the interim was mostly just coaching in various series, whether that's Formula Regional Americas or Ferrari Challenge. That's something that a lot of drivers do these days is, coaching these series that allows me to stay, get some time in the seat of a car, and also pays the bills, so it allows me to continue in the meantime chasing this dream to make it back to Indy, so that afforded me the time in between the race weekends to do that, and still allow me to pay my bills.
Very important, obviously. The sponsor you've got is to do with, if I'm not mistaken, with the LPGA. What is it? Who is it? And what do they do?
Yeah, so Lola Sport, it's a premium women's golfwear. So it's a very unique brand, a unique marketing opportunity to bring and introduce to the IndyCar series and the Indianapolis 500. And it really all came about because I'm partnered with Cusick Motorsport, which is headed by Don Cusick, who I met earlier this year. And he's a lifelong IndyCar fan, has always wanted to be involved in some way. And we got to talking at Fairmall out at a racetrack, and we got to do some laps in each other's cars, and he was just really interested in the opportunity. So I gave him my number, and I said, hey, if you have any more questions, if there's anything I can help you with, then reach out. And 4 weeks later, he reached out, asked me, hey, I'd like to go to the Speedway to watch the 500. Where's the best place to watch? So I hooked him up with some sweet tickets through a suite owner that I know, and he was really grateful for that. And then he's like, hey, you should come out and watch the race on May 30th. And I said, it's a long way to go. If I'm not racing, it's going to be bittersweet to be sitting in the stands and watching the race if I'm not in there. And he said, well, let's do something about that. So, Don's a really great guy, and I'm so thrilled to be working with him and helping him achieve his goals and his dreams. And at the same time, help achieving them myself, to make it back to Indy has been really special.
So it's women's golf apparel. And of course, there's of the 135,000 or plus that may be in the grandstand, I'm sure there's quite a few females that play golf.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we had the LPGA did a stop here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at the Brickyard for a number of years, I think 3 years, and I think that ended in 2019, I believe. So yeah, no, it's that was Don's idea again. It's a company that he's invested in, female-owned company, and wanted to show some support to them and utilize the program to draw awareness for that new up-and-coming company.
You're from England. Your brother was a race driver. In fact, you two are the only brothers that ever raced against each other in the same event, and actually for the same team. But how did the two of you get started? Obviously, Justin was a few years older than you. Did he start before you did, or he started? You thought, this looks like fun, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, so we have our dad to thank for that. Honestly, my dad raced in Formula Ford in the UK when he was young, and probably back in the 60s and 70s. He was actually racing against James Hunt in Formula Ford, and they've got pictures of him on pole with James Hunt on the outside of him at Alton Park. So that's kind of neat. And unfortunately, he had a bad accident when back in those days, as you did, and the safety wasn't always there. So he had a bad accident and decided that racing wasn't for him. And but always had that passion for the sport, and that sort of resonated with Justin. Obviously, he was 11 years older than me, so by the time he was already racing go-karts all around the country, by the time I could walk. And for a lot of the time, I'd spend a lot of weekends watching him race at various tracks. So naturally, when I turned about 8 or 9 years old, I was like, I want to do this too. So kind of pestered my dad into getting me a go-kart, and off we went. So from there it just gets bigger and faster.
He's had success as he came up. In fact, I think he has 3 wins in IndyCar series, but he lost his life in an accident that had nothing to do with him. And if he'd have swerved, 10 inches one way or the other, he'd still be here today, but it was a freak accident. But the result of that has not been missed by IndyCar. They have made some changes, some adaptations to the car to try and prevent that from happening again. So what is your thinking when you look at the new car with the halo that's now on it and the windscreen, and you're thinking, my brother was part of what got this done? What's it like have you been in one of the cars yet?
No, I haven't actually. No, I'm due to sit in one tomorrow, so I'll be able to see that for myself exactly tomorrow. But yeah, no, I think in losing Justin, it was important that it was not something that we, took lightly, that we used that as motivation to make change and make it, make positive change and make the sport safer. And there's a lot of pushback. A lot of guys that didn't want to see the aesthetics of the car change, but like anything, it's just an adaptation. It's just a process of adapting, and after a couple of years now, it's actually strange to look and see a car without the aero kit. You're like, well, that's weird. That looks kind of strange now without the aero kit. So, I think IndyCar have done a really good job of, taking their time and really like looking at all the options, really figuring out what was the best option for this sport and this series. Because unlike F1 and other series in Europe that just use the halo, on an oval, when the accident happens, it's designed. The whole process is designed to keep a lot of the debris inside the track and not for it to go outside the track and through the catch fence. So unfortunately, by doing that, obviously that creates, it's better safety for the fans that way. But unfortunately, by doing that, it keeps all that debris pretty much on the racing line. So, it kind of keeps it all, in an F1, the accident happens and it's in a gravel trap that's, 100 meters off the racing line. But, for us guys that are racing on the oval, like I said, all that debris is concentrated on the racing line. And I think it's important that the screen there, we have that difference, to F1 where we have the screen in front of the halo.
Well, there's 2 guys that I know are very happy with it. One is running this year, but in fact, both of them run IndyCar. One of them is here for the first time, Romain Grosjean, and he said he was one that screamed against having the halo, but without it, he wouldn't be here today. So all of a sudden, his attitude's obviously changed. And of course, when Connor Daly got flipped over without the halo, he might have had some very serious injury because his head would have been dragging on the ground. So it does serve a purpose. I don't think, to me, it doesn't take a whole lot away from the car. It makes it safer for the driver. And of course, in that case, and some of them will maybe make a move that they might not have in the past because they know the cars are safe. And the intention is when you have a crash, the car is supposed to come apart to absorb the concussion. So it does its job. It's just unfortunate your brother was 1 foot one way or the other of missing it and still being here racing against you again today.
Yeah,
now,
no, thanks for that, Don.
Your new sponsor, is there any chance, because they play golf all over America, I'm sure everybody's aware of that, and there's golf courses where there's a lot of ladies playing golf. Are they looking to expand perhaps with your team, or will it depend on how things go in May?
I think there's interest there, definitely. I think there's already been conversations about that. What does that look like? How can we do that? But I think for me, it really, it all hinges on May. I think May has to go well, and really that's the only thing I can control is how I perform in May. So for me, I just want to focus on that race, on that month, making sure that goes well, and then those conversations, they'll begin to either happen or they won't. So I think the focus for me right now is May, and then beyond that, we'll just have to see what happens. I think the intention is that hopefully it's less than 2 years that I have to wait to get back to Indy. That's the first priority is, okay, after we come through May, it's okay, how do we get back here again, do this again in 2022? Because for me, I feel like the more times you can run Indy, the more chances you've got of trying to win this race. And it's important to every 500 miles you race, there's just so much you learn and so much experience that you gain that puts you in a better place to come back when you come bach here. Unfortunately, like at the end of the 2018 race, like I left that race and I was like, man, I wish I could just start the month all over again right now. I'd be in so much better shape mentally and knowing what to do. And that's why in 2019 I was really excited leading up to what was going to be my third run then, and that didn't happen. So yeah, like I think that's the goal, is to try and create that continuity of not being out of the car for 2 years before coming back here. But that's going to be the immediate goal after May is, okay, how do we make sure that we're in a good place to come back here next year? And beyond that, if there's other conversations that are leaning towards other races on the calendar, then that's all good by me. I'm ready to go.
Well, it would seem to me that they would want a lot of you in front of cameras with their name on your uniform and talk about who and what they are and what they do. Normally, this year won't be quite normal because there'll be restrictions on getting into the garage and pit area and wandering the infield and so forth. But I got to think that you will be a good spokesperson for them to make sure the world knows who they are and what they do and where to find them and so forth. So that with the talent you've had, because you've had success all along the way from the very beginning. You came here and ran in the Road to Indy program. You won races. You got to IndyCar. You finished in the top 10 a couple of times. You had good performances, good finishes. So there's no reason to believe that you can't do that again. I mean, it's once you get some, and I'm sure you'll put a lot of miles on the car before qualifying starts. You'll be out there every day you can, as long as you can. So, and you've got a good team behind you. That also helps as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thrilled. That originally when I first talked to Andretti about, we had a partner involved. There was a situation where they weren't sure they had, they were sort of already kind of leaning towards another program that they were moving towards, and it didn't look like it was going to be possible. And then it sort of last minute it opened up, and it really things worked out really well for me, because it's an opportunity not just to return to Andretti and work with what is an incredible team and an outfit, but the fact that I'm able to work with the same engineer that I had in 2018, it's just all that continuity that helps, helps the month flow. Like to have to learn another engineer's, sort of language and get familiar with him and build that relationship would have just set us back a little bit and taken a little bit more time in the month. But the fact that it's the same engineer, we've already had a month working together. It's just like, he knows exactly when I describe something, he knows, he can understand that and relate to something that we did in 2018, etc. So no, I think I've put myself in a really good position now, and now it's up to me to sort of deliver the performance.
Well, I think, fans generally don't understand the working relationship that an engineer and a driver have to have. I know teams that I work for, that the engineer would listen to the driver and then he'd read the temperatures on the tires. And if the driver told him what the tires were telling him, then the engineer knew they were on the right track and they were speaking the same language. It was always interesting to watch that and how that works out. But it's very important that you and the engineer know what you're talking about. He understands you and what you need in your car. And the thing that I found interesting over the years is you might get in your car and God, it feels great. Somebody else gets in and says, good grief, how come you haven't crashed this thing? Drivers are so different, but you don't realize that until you get involved with the sport.
Yeah, different techniques, different driving techniques for sure. And these days as well, the engineers have got even more data to work with. They're not just reading the tire temperatures, but they can actually see, all the telemetry coming off of the car. And it's good actually, because the feedback that we're given as drivers is so, we're not given a whole lot of, you're not getting a whole lot of information through the car. It's so subtle, people say, oh, like you don't see the car, like the rear coming around, or like the guy's catching it these days. It's because we're making like micro adjustments in the car, and we have to do that in order to stop the car getting past a certain slip angle, so the feedback you're getting from the car is just so subtle, and you have to be so in tune with that. And then a lot of the times you're like, is that the right feedback I'm giving? You're just going with sort of gut instincts, and then it's really encouraging when the engineer can see that on the data, and then you start building this confidence with each other that yes, my feedback is correct, and it's been backed up there. And then that, as an engineer and driver, that just helps the relationship work and gel, because then you're sort of you're not questioning each other, and you're in sync, and you can start working on setup changes that really can make a big difference in the performance of the car.
I've got to think, when fans watch races on television, they listen to Townsend Bell and Paul Tracy, and the car will be going along and they say, oh, look, almost lost. And you look at it, it was just a minor move, but they spotted it because they've felt it and have experienced it. And they bring it to the viewer's attention that it does, if you loop the car, that's rather obvious, but the littlest thing you've got to catch, or you will loop the car. So
the thing you got to think about is, the Indy cars are designed aerodynamically to be going in a straight line. That's where they're producing the most downforce that's helping the car stick to the road. So when it's going in a straight line, it's great. But as soon as the car starts to slip and you quickly reduce the downforce fairly quickly. So if the rear is already starting to slip, and then that aerodynamic performance is then impeded because the car is yawing, then that just accentuates the problem even more. So you rapidly lose grip, and then all of a sudden you're gone. So that's why, you're never going to see the car go any more than sort of 10 degrees yaw, because if it ever gets to that point, there's no saving it. It's in the wall. So, I've been in Indy and been on Fast Friday. I think it was in 2016, and we were way off in the KV car, and we were making some changes, trying to get ourselves out of the hole. And we made a big swing at it, turned down into turn 3 at over 230 miles an hour, got a huge wiggle, saved it, and in the car it felt like we just defied death. And then you look at the video and you're like there's what happened, there's nothing happened. You just don't see it at all, so I come in the pits and my hands are shaking, because it's like, wow, that gets your attention when you know that you were this close to slamming the wall at over 200 miles an hour. But yeah, on the video you watch it back and it didn't look like a whole lot, so that's just the nature of the beast these days, and the nature of just what's going on in the physics of the car, the aerodynamics that are playing an effect, and then how that affects the grip of the car.
I got to think, from a driver's standpoint, in addition to the halo and the aero screen, the cars have changed a lot since the last time you drove one. You think there'll be, because there's more things that you're doing with the steering wheel, more information you got in the thing as well, telling you stuff that when you think about it, although the straightaways are fairly long, you get a chance to glance at your steering wheel to see what it's telling you on that little screen, if your car has one of those, which I assume it will. But there's a lot of information, a lot of things you have to do very quickly to make changes to the car, so that you don't have a problem that you felt going into turn 1 or turn 3 or somewhere.
Yeah, so no, absolutely. The screen on the dash, I think we had that in 2018, so I think that's not going to be so much to learn. But the biggest thing for me is the aero screen. Getting comfortable with that, and obviously now we have the big divide from the halo right ahead of us. So I don't think that should take us that long to get used to. I've spoken to other drivers, and they say after a couple of laps you don't even realize it's there. So that's nice to hear that I just want to jump in the car and experience that for myself, first. So that's going to be the first day, is just getting through ROP, which we still have to do. We have to do the refresher course, which I think is 20 laps, 2 stages, 205 to 210, and then 210 or 215 to 220 or something like that. So, jump through that course, try and get through that as quickly as we can. And by that point, hopefully I'll be pretty comfortable with the differences in the car.
The thing that kind of caught my attention, impressed me, was when Romain Grosjean was doing his first test at Barber and going through, I don't know, turn 2, turn 3, wherever it was, he lost the car.
Yeah.
When they brought him back and interviewed him, they said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, in Formula One, all you do is steer the car. There's so much downforce and so much mechanical grip that you just simply have to steer the car. But these cars, you actually have to drive. It has downforce, but nowhere near what I was used to." And I went, "Oops." He said, "Now I learned." And he had a big smile. He said, "You actually drive these cars." So that to me speaks a huge amount of the talent that this series has, of drivers that are able to do that and do it consistently and win without having to come off a fence. I think this is the greatest competition, greatest racing series in the world, bar none.
Yeah, no, I agree. Watching the first couple of rounds of the IndyCar series, you got to hand it to the series. The level of talent in the series now is the highest I think it's ever been. You've got champions from NASCAR, you got champions from V8 supercars, you got Romain Grosjean, Marcus Ericsson, past Formula One drivers. It's pretty impressive. And as Ramon says, these cars are physical. You have to really drive them to extract a lot of time. And then it's equally impressive when you see young guys like Colton Herta, 21 years old, and doing his qualifying lap at St. Pete was quite impressive to watch.
Well, I think from what I've seen and watching you over the years, you're capable of doing exactly that. Hopefully you'll get enough time in the car to get comfortable with it and understand how it works. And of course, the speedway, it changes almost lap to lap. If the sun is out and there's some clouds, you go through a corner when the sun, the next time you come around, it's cloudy, it's changed. It's not the same. So every lap you got to be on your toe, not literally, of course, but you got to be aware of the changes that are ahead and be prepared for it. And you don't have a lot of time between coming out of 4 and going into 1, or coming out of 2 and going into 3. You got to be quick.
No, you don't. You've got to be really, paying attention all the time. It's not one of those places where you can let your guard down at all, and, I think coming into May, there's going to be 36 cars that are running and trying to go for 33 spots, and 3 people are going to go home. So it's going to be a bit of a nail biter. I'm hoping that we're a little bit further ahead of that in qualifying, and we'll be focusing on what I can control and try not to worry about that so much.
Does the cars have increased speed somewhat since the last time you drove? Does the speed of a car, like at that speedway in particular, where you really get the speed, does that bother you? Does speed bother you when you're driving down and you look in the mirror and there's a guy right next to you? You go, uh-oh.
No, not really. It's at the end of the day, it's increased. My qualifying speed in 2018 was like 226, and my fastest lap of the month I was like almost 228. So it's bumped up a couple of miles an hour, and that kind of difference, I think it's going to feel relatively the same, but I think it's also going to it will take me a few laps to sort of adjust to that speed after being out for 2 years. I think it always amazes me how quickly your brain adapts. You do that first run in the car and you're like, wow, this is really fast, and then you jump out, sit around, think about it for a second, and it's like your brain recalculates, and you jump back in, and it's already adapted, so that's I'm sure I'll just experience that a little bit on that first day. But like I said, it's just going to be one of those things where we're trying to build a foundation, and those first couple of days work through some things on the setup that we want to test, and then get into qualifying, and just hope that we're at that point we're in a pretty good position to capitalize and get a good qualifying spot. Hoping that we roll off the truck, and the car's in a pretty good window.
So how is Justin's wife and his kids? How are they doing?
Yeah, they're doing good. I mean, as best as you can be. I think we all miss him every day, and we always think about how much better certain times could be if he was around. But they're all things considering, they're doing really good, and I know they're really excited to see their uncle go and race the 500. They'll be out here at the Speedway in May as well.
I got to think, when you put your helmet on and strap into the car, you'll be thinking about, you could be racing your brother. So this has got to be a special race for you to go out there and represent him and yourself in the car and go for the checker. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think this, I think I said this before, but everything I've been through to be at the Speedway and to be racing the 500, if it was just merely about my own personal goals, I think I probably would have not found the energy to recover and get back up after all the knockdowns. But the fact that I'm racing this for Justin as well, and that it was something that he never was able to achieve, it just means that it gives me extra drive and extra grit to just get up off the mountain and just keep coming back here. So yeah, I just want to make him proud like he made me proud.
Well, one thing can be said for him: if he saw a kid in need, he always made time to say hello, to talk to him. And he kind of adopted a few kids along the way that he was very close with and kept in constant contact with. And I got to think that if they're around and they see you're back, they got to come to you as well.
Yeah, no, he was always so great with the fans, and making sure he spent the time to make some autographs. And I think that just comes from his background. He was, at one point, he was that little kid, and drivers were stopping for him. So when he was growing up, and that, so I think, I hope to be following that tradition.
I'm sure you will. And I'm sure that, I know from what I've heard and seen, when I posted the fact you were cut, in fact, within an hour of my getting it, I had put it out. Got all kinds of response. Good, glad to see him back. So you've got your fans. Fans will be able to, watch you, and hopefully they'll be able to get around and get an autograph. But I don't know exactly what the procedure is going to be in the paddock and pit area. But I'm sure some people will find you somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm sort of interested to see how that's going to work out this year. Obviously, it's kind of a bit. It could be quite difficult with COVID, because I'm going to want to sign things for people, but then obviously if it's at the same time, I know drivers, all of us have worked so hard to get here. We have to be careful not to potentially get COVID. So I think that's something we're just going to have to figure out as the month goes along, and get some guidance from the series and the track on how we go about that and do that safely. So. I just can't thank the fans enough, because I don't really feel like I'm such a big name, but then the way that people reacted about me coming back really made me feel like I was like I had a lot of support that I didn't realize I had, so overwhelmed and really thankful and grateful for everyone that reached out and was excited to see me back.
Well, and I know that once they see you in the car, they will be equally excited. And from what I understand, I wasn't going to get a vaccination, but they told me if you're going to get a media credential, you got to have one. So I went and got it. In order to get in the paddock and pit area, you've got to have been vaccinated, I'm told. So
that's correct. Yeah, that's what I've been told as well.
So that's hopefully open up a little bit and your fans can at least say hello and wave. So
yes, it'd be nice to have some normalcy back. Yeah, we had my second vaccine last Friday, so I'm fully vaccinated now. And I think that what you're saying is right. I think it requires people to be vaccinated in order to get in the garage and the pit. So that, like you said, that'll be nice to at least have some interaction with fans and looking forward to seeing them back out at the speedway after seeing last year and seeing the track with no fans in it. It's going to be a welcome sight.
yes. Well, I want to welcome you back on behalf of your fans because I'm talking to you and they're not at the moment. But it's good to see you back. I'm glad you haven't given up the hope of coming here. And I hope that the ladies golf brand needs you out on, circulating the country, bringing their name to people's attention. And of course, like I said, there'll be a lot of ladies golfers that'll be in the grandstand and will hear it or be watching as well. So hope all goes well for you.
Check out lolasport.com. And if you're a female golfer, there's some great attire there.
Logosport.com, is that it?
Lola Sport.
Lola, Lola.
LOHLA.
Oh, LOHLA. Okay. Lolasport.com. Check
not
it
the
out.
Lola that we know from racing, not the Lola chassis. No, Lola LOHLA. So.
All right. Well, look it up. Good luck to you. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. Glad to see you're in Indianapolis for a few weeks. Hopefully you run across you somewhere, but thanks for your time and look forward to seeing you on the racetrack with a helmet on in a car.
Sounds good, Don. Thanks for having me.
My guest has been Stefan Wilson, and he is back after a couple-year break. He hasn't given up. He's back again, so look for him. We have some more guests upcoming, so stick with us. We'll announce when they are up and who they are. But until then, Don Kay saying thanks for watching. Until the next time, we'll see you.